Ford just cut the top off of its nearly 800 horsepower supercharged Mustang and had the nerve to call it a Grand Tourer. Yes, we have the full story over at We Talk Cars right here. Ford Mustang Dark Horse SC convertible debuts with 795 supercharged horsepower. Patrick has put this story together for us, but I want to run through some of the highlights that have stood out to me, a lifelong Camaro fan. What we get here is a convertible in an era when convertibles are becoming extremely rare. We're seeing fewer and fewer convertibles. I remember the day when the Chrysler Sebring convertible was everywhere, and now, well, Chrysler only makes one vehicle and it's nowhere near a convertible. We have this, a nearly 800 horsepower rear-wheel drive Grand Touring convertible from Ford wearing a Mustang badge. I keep talking about Grand Touring. We're going to get into some direct quotes from the brand. They are doubling and tripling down on the fact that this Dark Horse SC convertible is in fact a Grand Tourer, despite its insane horsepower numbers. And we'll get into exactly what lies under that long hood right now. It is the brand's 5.2 liter Predator V8, making 795 horsepower and 660 pound-feet of torque, sending that power exclusively to the rear wheels. Yes, I'm looking at you, Dodge Charger, and through a 7-speed dual-clutch automatic. That is where the Grand Touring thing comes from. No 3 pedals here on this one. This is simply a 7-speed dual-clutch automatic operation with a dial in the center console. We'll get into that in a bit. But that is why the brand is leaning so hard into this being a Grand Tourer, and we'll talk some quotes here in a minute. We do not have official performance numbers for this nearly 800 horsepower Grand Tourer from Ford, but I would expect somewhere in the low 3-second 0 to 60 range based on what the coupe can do. And yes, this is a very insane overall platform to be chopping the top off of. In addition to that 5.2 liter V8 under the hood, we get a lot of other high performance components that are also found in the hardtop version. First, MagneRide suspension. This is a very good, quick reacting sport tuned suspension that has been retuned for the weight and aerodynamic properties of not having a hardtop on this particular model. We also get large Brembo brakes, 15.3-inch rotors up front and 14-inch rotors in the back. 6 pistons up front, 4 pistons in the rear. We also have Pirelli P Zero R tires measuring 305/30/20 up front and 315/30/20 in the rear. So we aren't going the Chevy Corvette route with staggered sizes front and rear, but we are getting staggered width front and rear. Now, why this is considered by the brand to be a Grand Tourer. First up, Mark Rushbrook, the global director of Ford Racing, says, if the coupe is the race-bred side of our DNA, this convertible is the pure street cred part of that formula. It is just pure, fun, fast freedom. So, Grand Tourer. There you go.
I just put my Screen ProTech screen protector on this Ford screen. I'll put a link down below, Screen ProTech/Tim. You get 15% off this screen protector. Put it on here and the dash here. Keeps these screens nice. Actually covers up scratches as well if you have an older truck. And I really like them. It's a nice way to protect your screen from scratches, and it puts a nice cover on there so keeps dust off, fingerprints off. Big fan of these screens. Again, Screen ProTech/Tim.
Moving inside, you will see a lot of what you see in the coupe, less the top up above you, and less a true manual transmission. Yes, we get this rotary dial for the 7-speed dual clutch automatic, Perhaps the most offensive part to me is the rotary dial gear selector in this versus having some sort of mechanical, looks like a manual transmission selector. No, we get a rotary dial, we get the full digital gauge cluster, and very limited hard buttons unless you're talking about the steering wheel, which gets a lot of buttons. Now, the chief engineer of this Dark Horse convertible has tripled down on this being a Grand Tour by saying both the Dark Horse SC Coupe and convertible have been developed by our Ford racing engineers. But instead of prioritizing the convertible for setting lap times, we've engineered it to be the ultimate top-down Grand Touring machine. So yes, Grand Tourer GT, even though it's a Dark Horse SC, GT is nowhere in the mix. And then lastly, we get a new color for this drop top Dark Horse SC. This is called Precision Purple. It joins the color palette alongside the unique brake caliper color option and the buyer's choice black onyx or space gray for the premium interior. So yes, a very bold exterior color for a very bold choice to chop the top off of a performance coupe and try and sell it as a Grand Tourer, which is where I pass the question off to you, the viewing audience. Is there a market for a nearly 800 horsepower automatic equipped Ford Mustang labeled as a Grand Tourer instead of a pony car, or supercar, or anything along those lines? Do you think the market exists? We do not know pricing for this model just yet, but we do know orders will start this fall and deliveries will begin next spring, right in time for drop top season. Yes, and I am slightly curious just how well this will sell. It is a very niche product in its own right, and then chopping the top off of it makes it even more niche in the long run. This really does appeal to a very small subset, so I do not expect great sales numbers, but I believe Ford would be prepared for that, based on a lower model Mustang convertible and coupe sales splits. If you want to see more content like this from us, be sure and click that logo right there to subscribe to the We Talk Cars YouTube channel, and click that logo icon down there to watch a video that YouTube thinks that you would really enjoy. But as for me, I will see you down the road.